I regret marrying someone from a different culture and ethnicity. I don't even know where to begin anymore. I'm not racist, I swear I'm not. But if I could go back in time, I would not have married my husband. And yeah, I already know how that sounds. I feel gross even typing it. We met in London when I was 21. I was studying art history, he was doing his PhD in engineering. We met at a pret-a-manger near King's Cross. I had dropped my oat flat white on the floor and he handed me a napkin. Classic rom-com moment, right? Except it's not. Because the guy who picked up my coffee eventually turned into someone who can't even look at himself in the mirror without flinching. He's Korean, born in Busan, moved to the UK when he was 10. Fluent in both languages, smart, sweet, intense. We had this weird chemistry that felt different from the awkward white guys I usually dated. I fell fast, but here's the part I ignored back then. He told me early on, like, 2 weeks in, I'd never date a Korean girl. Ever. I remember laughing awkwardly and saying, why? He shrugged and said, they're too much like my mom. I laughed again. It was early, okay? I didn't know how deep that rabbit hole went. Fast forward 5 years, we're married, living in a semi-detached in Croydon, 2 kids, dual income, weekends at IKEA. He's a good dad. Like, honestly, he's an amazing father, but a SHIT husband. And no, I don't think he cheated. I actually think that might be easier to swallow. He's emotionally hollow. Everything goes to the kids. He makes their lunches like it's the fucking Olympics. Home-baked bread, seaweed rolls cut into stars, all that Pinterest dad energy. But for me, nothing. Last Valentine's Day, he forgot and handed me a used gift bag with a Toblerone inside, like the ones they sell at W.H. Smith in train stations. And my birthday this year? Nothing. Not even a card. Now maybe that's not cultural. Maybe it's just him. But here's where it gets messy. His parents. They live 15 minutes away and treat me like the babysitter who doesn't speak Korean, which, to be fair, I don't. But they've never made an effort to help me learn either. They make me feel like an outsider in my own home. Every visit turns into this weird power struggle. His mom once wiped my daughter's face and said, "Aigo, so pretty now, just like me. Thank God her eyes aren't like her father's." She said that, in front of me, and he didn't say anything. He just smiled awkwardly and asked if we had kimchi in the fridge. I thought it would get better when we had kids. I thought having a family would bring us closer. But he just poured everything into being the perfect dad and forgot I was even part of the equation. Sex? Maybe once every 2 months. And I can feel he doesn't want it. It's like he's performing a duty, not making love to someone he desires. One night I asked him, "Do you still find me attractive?" He said, "Yeah. I mean, you're the mother of my children." That's it. That was the compliment. Another time I brought up race. It wasn't even a fight, just a casual talk about how people might perceive our kids. I said something like, some people might see them as Asian. And he replied, "I shit you not. Yeah, and for most people here, looking Asian is a bad thing. It's not something to be proud of." I just stared at him, like, what the hell do you say to that? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I still can't. When I look at our daughter's face, I wonder if she's gonna grow up hating her own features because her own dad told her there's nothing to be proud of. And this isn't even about politics or racism or cultural clashes. This is about one man who never dealt with his own identity issues, and now I'm stuck living inside them. We used to have fun. We traveled. We went to Rome, Tokyo, Seattle. Now everything is for the kids. If I suggest a trip, he says it's too expensive or not practical. But he spent 300 pounds on a baby carrier he saw in a Korean dad vlog. I tried to talk to him once about seeing a counselor. He said, "Why? I'm not depressed, I'm just tired." I said, "I'm tired too." He looked at me and said, "Yeah, but you don't have immigrant guilt." What the actual fuck does that even mean? I haven't told anyone in real life about this. Not my mom, not my best friend. They all think we're #couple goals. 2 cultures coming together. Beautiful bilingual babies, solid finances. But I cry in the bathroom. Not loud sobbing, just quiet tears I wipe with toilet paper because I don't want the kids to see. I love him. Or maybe I love who I thought he was. But he doesn't love himself. And being married to someone who hates his own reflection, that HAT starts to rub off. So here's the part that nobody on Instagram sees. Every day we look like the family people envy. He picks up the kids in his Uniqlo hoodie and on sneakers, pushing the bugaboo like a lifestyle ad. Our daughter's hair is always perfectly braided. Our son has better outfits than I do. We eat organic, go to National Trust properties, say no screen time before lunch. People assume we have it figured out. But inside the house, it's cold. Not in the physical way. In the I'm sharing space with a stranger way. You ever have a conversation with someone where everything they say feels PR approved? Like they're giving you the version of themselves they want you to see, not who they are? That's what talking to him is like now. One Saturday morning, I brought up something really dumb. I said, "Do you think we should repaint the living room?" Maybe sage green instead of gray? He was silent for a second too long. Then he said, "Why? What's wrong with gray?" I said, "Nothing. I just want something warmer." And then he said, and I swear to God, dead serious, "The kids associate this color with safety. Changing it might unsettle them, brother." What? I blinked like 5 times and said, "It's a fucking wall, not their emotional support animal." He didn't even flinch, just went back to cutting up cucumber stars. This man, this hyper-functional, detail-obsessed, emotionally void man, is obsessed with creating the ideal environment for our kids, and he's forgotten the kids have 2 parents. He doesn't even argue anymore. Not because he agrees, he just shuts down. And maybe that's the most maddening part. You can't fight with someone who disappears behind a calm voice and a spreadsheet of reasons why your feelings are not optimal right now. We had a fight, like an actual loud one, once this year, just once, and it started over fucking rice. His mom dropped off this big container of bakmi rice, the good kind from Korea, whatever. I was making dinner and used the regular Tesco stuff because I was tired and didn't want to haul out the rice cooker. He comes into the kitchen, looks in the pot, and goes, "Why didn't you use the Korean rice?" I said, "It's rice." He says, "Yeah, but it's not the same. The kids are going to grow up thinking this is normal. You know, Korean rice is softer and more nutritious." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you eating it?" "No?" "Then shut up." He stared at me deadpan and said, "I just don't want them to grow up like me." And that's when I lost it. "Then why did you marry me?" He went silent, like dead silent, then turned around and left the kitchen, didn't touch his plate, didn't speak to me until the next day. And when he finally did, he just said, "Sorry. I shouldn't have criticized your cooking." That was it. That was the whole closure. Not why he said what he said, not what he meant by "like me." Just some surface level check-the-box apology so we could go back to being fine. I've tried to bring it up again. He won't go there. Won't talk about what growing up Korean in a white majority country did to him. Won't talk about why he avoids Korean friends like the plague, or why he scoffs at Korean dramas unless they're realistic and not romanticized. But what really broke me, and this was recent, was something he said during a random scroll session on the couch. We were watching a video of a mixed-race couple with kids. The comments were full of "so cute" and "perfect mix" stuff. I said something like, "Our kids look kind of like theirs." He just nodded. Then I said, "They're gonna grow up knowing both sides of the world. That's pretty cool, right?" And he goes, "It's cool if they lean white." I stared at him, said nothing. He didn't even realize what he said until 5 minutes later. Then he tried to walk it back. "I just meant, it's easier, that's all. The world's nicer to white-looking kids. I'm being realistic," I said. "Realistic or self-loathing?" He didn't answer. The thing is, he thinks he's protecting them. He thinks that if he can just scrub away the parts of himself he grew up hating, our kids will have it better. But he doesn't see what it's doing to me, or them. Our daughter asked me last week, "Mommy, am I white?" I asked her, "What do you think?" She said, "I want to be." Daddy says it's better I had to leave the room before I lost it. That night, I told him calmly, "You're teaching them to hate half of themselves." And this man, this genius PhD, this gentle baby-wearing Instagram husband, said, "I'm teaching them to survive." I think that was the moment I stopped seeing him as my partner. He's not building a life with me. He's building a bunker, and I'm not allowed inside. Okay, so by this point, I'm already mentally checked out half the time. Not in the "I'm leaving him tomorrow" way, more like, "This is my roommate who happens to father my kids and sometimes uses my shampoo" kind of way. But I tried one more time. I told him, "We need a weekend, just the 2 of us." And he actually agreed, booked a staycation in Bath. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe he's finally seen what I've been begging for. Maybe he remembers I'm not just the mother of his kids, I'm his wife. We get to the hotel. Room's nice. He brought my favorite chocolate, Tony's Chocolonely, the sea salt one. I almost cried. We ordered dinner in. He even compliments my dress. My dress. This man who usually critiques my fashion like it's an engineering flaw says, "You look good. I mean, it suits you. I don't even care that it's lukewarm praise. It's something." And then we sit down and have a drink and I say, "Do you ever miss who we were before the kids?" He says, "No. I didn't really know who I was back then." I said, "And now you do?" He goes, "Yeah. I'm a father." That's it. Just father, not husband, not partner, not man. Just this hyper-functioning dad bot who thinks love is a bento box and a strict routine. I asked him, "Are you still in love with me?" He took a sip of his drink and said, "I swear to God, I don't think that question helps anything." I just stared at him and he added, "I love our life. I love what we built. Isn't that more important? More important than being loved?" Number, it's not. But it gets worse. So much worse. 2 weekends later, we're at his parents' place for Chuseok. I'm doing my best. I brought gifts, wore something modest, tried to remember the Korean phrases he drilled into me before we left. His mom was being especially fake nice that day. You know when someone's polite, but there's this sharpness behind every word? That's her default setting with me. At one point, we're sitting at the table and she looks at our daughter and says, in Korean, something I didn't fully understand, but I caught the word aeolgul, which means face. She laughed. His dad laughed. My husband smirked. I asked him later what she said. He goes, oh, nothing serious. She said our daughter has your face, but my intelligence. I said, is that really what she said? He paused, then smiled awkwardly and said, she actually said you're a good breeder. I said, what? He said, it's a compliment in Korea. Like, you gave good genes? I stared at him, mouth open. You're joking, right? He laughed. Don't be so sensitive. Sensitive? This woman just reduced me to a dog and he's laughing like it's a quirky cultural quip. I told him, if my mom ever called you a sperm donor, would you laugh? He went quiet. And here's the thing, I wasn't even mad at her. I expected her to be like this. She's always seen me as this white project her son took on to escape his own culture. But him? He was supposed to have my back. And instead, he handed me over like a sacrificial goat and said, here you go, say what you want. After that, something snapped. I stopped speaking Korean at all, stopped trying, stopped visiting. I told him I'm done with the perfect daughter-in-law game. If they want to babysit, cool. But I'm not sitting around while his mom critiques our daughter's lunchbox contents like she's Gordon Ramsay of kimchi. And the final straw? Oh, buckle up. Our son started refusing to speak Korean, just flat out refused. One night he told his dad, I don't like Korean. It's the language of bad people. My husband went pale, asked him, who told you that? And our son said, you did. You said Korea is bad. Now my husband is crying, full-on sobbing in the hallway, saying, I've failed. I ruined him. He hates being Korean because of me. And I'm standing there thinking, you think? I didn't say it. I didn't need to. Instead, I just asked him, so now what? You gonna start loving your culture or hate yourself harder? He didn't answer, just kept crying like a teenager who got dumped on prom night. I took the kids upstairs, made them brush their teeth, tucked them in. And as I watched our son curl up under his Spider-Man blanket, I thought, what kind of man teaches his kids to be ashamed of him? And what kind of woman stays with that man? So yeah, that night ended with him crying on the bathroom floor like he was the victim in all this. He slept on the couch, not because I told him to, he just vanished after brushing his teeth. Didn't say goodnight. Didn't come back upstairs. Just ghosted from his own damn bed like it was a hotel room he accidentally double-booked. And me? I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'm just a coward for staying. You ever feel like your relationship is a haunted house? Not scary, not loud, just cold. You walk through every day pretending nothing's wrong, but the air's heavy and everything creaks and you know deep down something's off. That's how it feels with him. 2 weeks later, I started a conversation I'd rehearsed 100 times. Do you ever think we should separate? He didn't even look up from his laptop, just said, you want to? I said, I don't know. I think I want to. He closed the lid, finally looked at me. I didn't think you'd say that. I told him I was tired of carrying everything emotional, that I'm sick of trying to understand his pain when he won't even acknowledge mine, that he was becoming his own dad, a man who thinks being physically present is enough. And then he broke, like full-on breakdown, not rage, not denial, just this pathetic collapse of a man who finally realized he's not as functional as he thought. He told me, in one long shaky monologue, that he never felt Korean, that his mom used to hit him if he didn't bow correctly or if he forgot to call an elder by the right title, that kids at school called him Ching Chong and threw prawn crackers at his head, that when he brought home a white girlfriend in uni, his mom said, finally, our bloodline can improve. He told me he thought marrying white would fix it, make him feel accepted. And then he looked at me and said, you were supposed to save me. I didn't even know what to do with that. I said, I married a man, not a fucking rescue dog. He nodded like I'd just confirmed his worst fear. Then he said the one thing I'll never unhear. I don't know if I ever really loved you, or if I just wanted to become someone else. There it was. That was the moment the glass finally shattered. Because damn, I've questioned a lot. My looks, my value, my cooking, my cultural literacy, but not whether I was ever really chosen. And he just said it, out loud, like he was reporting the weather. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just left. Took the kids and went to my sister's in Brighton for the weekend. I needed space, not for some dramatic ultimatum, just to breathe without his insecurities wrapping around my throat like a weighted blanket full of unresolved trauma. At my sister's, everything was calm. The kids played. I drank wine. My niece painted my nails and said I looked less sad now. I didn't even realize how visible my sadness had become. Then my husband called, asked when I was coming home, not if. When? Like it was a reset button. I said, we're not ready. He said, the kids miss me. I said, they'll be fine. And that's when he snapped. He told me I was breaking the family, that white women always leave, that I have no idea how hard it is to carry a culture that doesn't want you. I asked, then why are you trying to pass it on? He hung up. We stayed in Brighton another night. When we came back, the house was spotless. He had made laminated schedules for the kids, color-coded, detailed, like he was preparing for an inspection. And there on the counter was a card. Not flowers, not chocolates, a single card. Inside it said, I don't know who I am, but I know I don't want to lose you. If you want to try again, I'll go to therapy. If not, I'll still be here for the kids. I didn't cry, I didn't hug him, I just nodded. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for wanting more. So yeah, that was 6 months ago. A lot's changed since then, and a lot hasn't. First off, yes, we're still together. If you're waiting for some dramatic ending where I pack the kids and move to some Instagrammable cottage in the Cotswolds, sorry, that's not real life. We're still in the same house, same neighborhood, still do the school runs, still rotate cooking and laundry and bedtime stories. From the outside, not much has shifted. But inside, we're different people now. He did go to therapy, for real. Found a Korean-British therapist, someone who gets it. First session, he came home and didn't say a word, just hugged me for the first time in months. Not a side hug, not a routine goodnight squeeze, a full, silent, desperate hug. Second session, he told me he cried in front of another man for the first time in his life. I said, that's hot. We laughed, actually laughed, but it's not some overnight redemption arc. He still messes up, he still says weird stuff, still panics when the kids mispronounce Korean words, still tries to optimize every moment of their childhood like he's managing a fucking startup. But now, he catches himself, he names it. Like last week, our daughter said she didn't want to go to Korean language school anymore because the teacher called her too loud for a girl. He was pissed, not at her, at the teacher. A year ago, he would have told her to toughen up, to respect the culture. This time he said, you don't have to let someone else's version of Korean girlhood define you. And she lit up. Meanwhile, I've stopped apologizing for being white. That sounds dumb, I know, but I realized I'd been shrinking for years, afraid to ask questions, afraid to challenge anything, afraid to look ignorant. But fuck that. Ignorance isn't the same as disrespect. I can't be Korean. I'm not trying to be. But I can raise kids who love both their parents fully. And if that means sometimes I get it wrong, so be it. I'd rather mess up than disappear. We still have issues. Sex is still rare. We're working on it. His parents, still judgy, still drop in unannounced, still act like I'm the unpaid au pair. But now he deals with them. He sets the boundaries. He even told his mom to stop commenting on our daughter's looks. She threw a passive-aggressive fit for 2 weeks. He didn't cave. And our kids? They're thriving. Our son loves being half Korean, half British. He told his class he's a cultural sandwich. Our daughter dressed up as a K-pop star for World Book Day. Don't ask. And made her dad do the dance with her. He did. Badly. But he did. I'm not saying we're healed. I'm not saying this is a love story. But maybe it's a survival story. Because here's what I learned. Marrying someone from a different culture isn't a problem. Marrying someone who hates their own culture and uses you to escape it is. And raising kids in that mess? It'll either break you or force you to grow up. I think we're finally growing up. The other night we were sitting in the kitchen. No kids, no distractions, just us. He poured me a glass of wine and said, I married you thinking you were a ticket out of something. But now I see you're just you. And I think I'm finally ready to be me too. I didn't say anything, just raised my glass. Because sometimes the most romantic thing a man can say isn't I love you, it's I see you. And finally, I feel seen. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.